So welcome to the Rhode Island Business Competition 2021. My name is Beth Carter. I am the Executive Director. This is my second year also being the Executive Director. As I mentioned, our dates are on the website. As I said, November 19th will be our pitch contest. So we thought this was a very important workshop. This is the first time we've had a pitch workshop. So hopefully a lot of people will participate and then in turn enter the pitch contest. So we are very excited to have Peter George. I'm going to actually pass the baton on to one of our co-chairs, Peggy Farrell, who will take it from there.
Hi, everybody. I am Peggy Farrell, and I'm the co-chair. I've been involved with the competition, as we were chit-chatting before, for 15 years now. We're very excited because this is the first workshop focused on creating and delivering the perfect pitch. And our presenter is Peter George, who's well known in Rhode Island as well as nationwide. He is a public speaking coach. He helps entrepreneurs, executives, and attorneys develop and present compelling messages that resonate with their audiences. And as a result, we hope, significantly enhance their public speaking skills and gain greater confidence, and we think that gives them a competitive advantage. So before Peter begins, I want to mention our sponsors. They're up on the screen. They include private companies, service organizations, public agencies, colleges, universities, banks, investors, and we're very proud they also include former competitors, companies that got launched in part by participating in the competition and are still going strong. The organizations provide support, which allows us to support entrepreneurs and in turn allows them to build businesses, to transform their idea into reality. And we are kind of unique. Most business competitions are sponsored either by academics or a single corporation. We are community-based, as I said, sponsored by all sorts of community participants, which makes us pretty unique. And I think we're the largest such community-supported business competition in the country, actually. Since we've been formed in 2000, we've had over 50 previous competitors that are making a huge impact on the economic development in Rhode Island. They're growing and expanding their businesses, hiring employees, and buying from suppliers and service providers. I also want to acknowledge Venture Cafe, our partner, who's producing tonight's event. We'd all prefer to be together in their wonderful space at District Hall, but we hope everyone will recognize the hard work they've done to make tonight's event successful. And I also want to mention Bryant University's social media team, who will be spreading the word about the competition. So with that, as by way of introduction to Peter, it's your stage.
As we go on tonight, you want to remember this: presenting is not a data dump. It's the artful exchange of ideas, information, and inspiration from one brain to another based on science. Years ago, we had oration. And that turned into speeches, which turned into presentations, which over the last 10 years or so turned into talks because of TED Talks. But now it's a conversation. Even when the other person can't speak to you or the audience can't speak to you, it's a conversation. And the more we can design presentations, and tonight speaking about pitching, into conversations, the more effect and the better outcome we'll have. Taking pitching specifically, pitching is still providing people with information, but while you're designing your pitch, if you can look at it as, I have to answer the questions they are going to have about my business before they ever ask them, and put that in front of them. That's what pitching has become. Answer their questions about your product, your team, why you, your experience, what traction you've achieved at this point, what you expect to do with the prize money or whatever venture capital that you get. That's presenting, and more specifically, pitching. So over our brief time here tonight, You're going to learn how to take certain components of pitching, not design a pitch in general, but certain components, demonstrating your confidence, storytelling techniques, and how to effectively prepare so you can make your pitch even more effective and gain that outcome, that objective that you've been looking for. So let's take the first one, demonstrating confidence. Peter Drucker once said, the most important thing in communication is hearing what wasn't said. And people will look at that all day long, unconsciously. What are they looking for when you stand up to speak? Confidence. Now, very few people are going to go, by the way he's standing, by the way she's speaking, she lacks confidence, or she just reeks of confidence. It's not done that way. It's done at the unconscious level, the level that looks for signs from people. Your brain does that 6 times every second when you're sleeping or when you're awake. 6 times a second, it is judging what's going on around you, including other people. That's evolved over the last 800, 900,000 years. It's not changing in our lifetimes. So when you want to demonstrate confidence, there's certain things that you want to do on the scientific basis, but in an artful way. Let's take one, emotion. You want to show emotion. So when you stand up in front of the people who are judging your pitch, VCs, whomever it may be, demonstrate the emotion. And some of it might be a little acting. Think of a play, and I'll refer to plays a few times tonight. Think of a Broadway play. And an actor walks on and doesn't get into character until they're at their spot on stage. Would be very odd, wouldn't it? They need to be in character in the wings, if not their dressing room, and some get into character before they leave their home or hotel room. Get into character. How do you want people to see you? Are you excited about this as opposed to nervous? Are you sharing things that you're eager to share as opposed to, I haven't even rehearsed this or thought about it till earlier today? What emotion do you want that to be? You have to show that. Emotion is extremely powerful. And a lot of us think, this is business. There's no emotion in it. I don't care who you're talking to. I don't care if you're talking to Warren Buffett, Richard Branson. I don't care who it is, Tony Robbins. They're human beings. And human beings react to emotion. So make sure the emotion that you want to convey is in there. Otherwise, they perceive us as lacking confidence. And when people lack confidence in us, they lack confidence in what we're saying. And again, that mostly is done at an unconscious level. A lot of people think subconscious. No, it's not a subconscious level. It's an unconscious level. It's even deeper. Stance is a big thing when you pitch, when you do a presentation. It's huge. Even in Zoom, stance is big. If you're seated when you're giving a presentation, stop it. Get up and present the way you normally would. And it's generally not seated. Because what we do with our lower half of our bodies that you can't see on Zoom is reflected in our shoulders and our neck and our head position. A lot of people do this, which is stand on one hip. Why do we stand on one hip? Anybody know? It's comfortable, people say. It's not comfortable. How do we know it's not comfortable? What do you do 30 seconds later? You do this, and look how much my shoulders change every time I move. And it's about 30 to 35 seconds that we change, because standing on one leg, unless you're a flamingo, is not more comfortable than standing on two. It's mentally more comfortable, not physically more comfortable. What we're trying to do is, I don't want to look overconfident. We're doing this again at our unconscious level. I don't want this to seem like I'm overconfident. Therefore, I am going to buffer it by being casual. That's not what people want to see. And again, I can tell you, you do not want to sit here for an hour and watch me do this every 30 to 35 seconds for an hour. It'll be monotonous. That's when people go, oh, I have a connection problem. I'm going. Don't do that. Stand up, legs hip width apart, shoulder width apart if you'd like. And everything your mom told you was true. Stand up straight, look people in the eye. In this case, look in the camera. We'll talk about that more in a second. But again, to demonstrate that confidence, stand up. Not the military with the shoulders back, chest out, but it's not far from that. If anybody was a dancer, you've heard the advice about thinking that there's a string attached to your head pulling you up. That elongates your spine and it puts your head over your shoulders over your hips over your ankles. That's the stance you want. It's a confident looking stance that I'm here to do business. I'm here to do with confidence what I need to do. So just feel yourself that way, being pulled up just a little bit, almost taking your heels off the floor. That will help you a great deal. What you don't want to do, other than just standing on a hip, is, and not to get sexist here, but this is usually the ladies who will do this, is don't stand there and cross your legs. It's a defensive posture. And after a while, what do we do when we cross our legs? We either start doing this, or we move our bodies around to cross the leg the other way after we get tired of standing on one leg, which again is only, at that point, 45 seconds to a minute. And you'll just keep doing that. Guys, make this equal opportunity. Guys, again, hip to shoulder width apart, not this. With your feet like 3 or 4 feet apart. The only time in life you should be standing like that is when a cop has pushed you up against the cruiser and says, put your feet as wide as they can go and have you bend over the cruiser, which I hope you never go through, but that's the only time in life that stance comes in handy. And the reason it is that way, that you don't want a real wide stance, it's a submissive stance. Anytime your feet are wide apart, it's a submissive stance. Think of at ease or at rest in the military with your hands behind your back. That's so you can't attack your superior. It's a submissive stance. Don't do that. Confidence, feet hip width or shoulder width apart. If you are seated, and if you're pitching, I really hope you're not. But if you are, or anytime you're on Zoom or even in person, and you're going to present from a seated position, move to the front half of the chair. Chairs are made to help us relax. Even ergonomic office chairs are help to make us relax to some degree. And if we sit with our butts pushed all the way against the back, our shoulders tend to round. And that's not a confident looking position. When you move up to the first half of the seat, everything we just talked about your back being straight, your head over your shoulders and the like, takes place right away. I actually like the very edge of the front of the seat. I don't necessarily advise it because seats tend to move sometimes, and I just don't want anybody falling off the front. So the front half is fine. But that's what you want to do when you're seated. And it allows you to do some other things we're going to talk about in a few minutes. One of the biggest nonverbal communication signals you can send to people is through your face. A couple of different instances. One is smile. You might be like me. I do not have a big smile. Never did, never will. I don't smile with my teeth showing. My face just isn't built that way. And if you have that, that's fine. But what you want is an appropriate smile, even in business. Let people know that you're comfortable, that you're happy to be there, that you're honored that you can pitch or present. And the smile makes a difference. And again, that starts off stage, if you will, not once you start speaking. Smile. I have that face that if I'm not smiling and I'm concentrating on something, people think my dog got hit by a car. It's just not the look you want to see in someone. And I'm aware of that. And I'm aware that my brow comes down and I just look like I'm ticked off at the world. And it's just me concentrating. So just to have a slight smile. And for those of us over 30, we have an advantage that those under 30 don't have. They're happy about it, that they don't have it. They shouldn't be. And that's crow's feet. If you have crow's feet, you worked for them. You've survived a certain number of years. You've smiled a lot over those years. You've had expression on your face, good, bad, and indifferent, over the years, and you've developed crow's feet. And one of the things that tell people that it's an actual smile are crow's feet. We judge a smile not by that big toothy grin. If you have a smile that lights up the room, okay, we look at those smiles. But for those of us who don't, we actually judge a smile from our cheeks to our eyebrows. Most important part of that, truthfully, are the crow's feet and the eyebrows. So a smile is nothing but your cheeks coming straight up, your crow's feet sticking out, and your brow, depending if you're a surprised type of smile or just a regular smile, your brow moving a little bit. Your eyes actually don't open with a smile. They squint more with a true smile. So smile, relax. People will see confidence. And that's what we're talking about here. Conveying that confidence so they're more apt to listen to you and take what you're saying as fact unless they feel otherwise. The other big thing, eye contact. Make eye contact. Don't stare at people, but don't look away either. And don't do those things. I've never understood where this one comes from. Picture people in their underwear. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't see how it would work. And someone in my industry who is extremely successful, worldwide known, lives out on the West Coast, great guy, in his $10,000 training package, video package, at one point he actually says, picture people in their underwear, which to me makes that $10,000 package worth about 10 cents. But it's just not a credible thing to do. Don't do that. And the other thing, if you're nervous, is don't look over people's heads. We always want to think of presenting, pitching as a one-to-one conversation, no matter how many people you're talking to, one person across a desk, 12 people in a conference room, 1,200 people in an auditorium. You're speaking to one person. You're not saying, are all of you, you're just saying you. You speak to one person. And if you're looking over, think if you and I were talking face to face, and all the time I was talking to you, I looked over your head like this. Would that seem right to you? No. Look people in the eye. Again, your mom was right. Stand up straight, speak loudly with confidence, and look people in the eye. You've got to look them in the eye. Don't stare at them. Sometimes we see people, especially if we're, well, either on Zoom here or in a room, and we see someone who's smiling and nodding their head, and we immediately fall in love with them. Like, oh my God, you're my comfort zone. I am just going to stare at you for the rest of the presentation. Look at different people. Move around, but make sure you look them in the eye. It's essential. On Zoom, it's extremely difficult. Because of human nature, it's extremely difficult. You must look at the little green dot. It's tough to see the camera behind the black screen, but there's your green dot on the camera. Look at that green dot. That's looking people in the eye. Right now, I'm looking at the camera next to the green dot. Now I'm looking at the second row down. Is there a difference? If I spent looking at the second row down, God forbid, the third or fourth row, there's a huge difference. You want to look at the people, especially when they're talking, you want to look at them. You have to get over that and look at the camera. And if the camera is on a laptop, raise the laptop up. Put it on book. Don't put it on a box. Boxes tend to cave in during time. Put them on books or whatever else, something solid, and get your camera at eye level, if not a half-inch higher. If it's a desktop and the camera's up here, raise the chair, stand up, do whatever you have to do to get at that same level. It makes a difference. We're used to seeing bus shots. a little bit of the chest, shoulders, and head, because we watch news. And you'll see anchors, prior to them standing up sometimes now, from here up. When we see a whole body way back here, it's kind of odd. And when you're doing this, it's even odder, if that's a word. Bust shot, very simple, eye level. People plop them down. You even see national interviews where they're interviewing an expert. It might be a professor, it might be a business person, it can be anybody. It might be someone in the military, and they have the laptop down on their desk and the screen tilted back, and it's shooting right up their nostrils. And we see the ceiling above them. Raise it up, it's what we want to see. And if you're pitching, you want your listeners all the time, any presentation, you want your listeners to be as comfortable with your presentation as they can possibly be. Now let's talk about voice. Richard Strauss once said, the human voice is the most beautiful instrument of all, but it's the most difficult to play. Because many times we think, oh, we just talk. This is what I sound like. But back to conveying confidence. If you don't speak up and speak like this, most people won't pay much attention to you nor think you have confidence. You have to project. And project isn't yelling. Projecting is breathing. Taking a deep breath through your nose, filling up your lungs so your stomach actually comes out a little bit, your tummy comes out an inch or two, and stop talking. Diaphragmatic breathing. You want to practice that. You might know it as a cleansing breath. If you've had children or do yoga, it's a cleansing breath. If you've ever been in a car singing along with the music and the artist is still singing and you're out of breath and you're kind of like just squeaking the last few words of the line out, that's because they're breathing all the way down to the bottom of their lungs, as opposed to what we do in the car and naturally every day, which is use about a third of our lungs. So if you're presenting, inhale through your nose, out through your mouth while you're speaking, and project so people can hear you. If you're timid, yep, everybody's gonna go, oh, poor guy, he's speaking softly because he's nervous, I get it. They'll cut you slack. They might not give you the money, but they'll cut you slack. They might not give you the prize, but they'll cut you slack. Everybody knows you're nervous. That's fine. You just have to find a way to overcome it. Also, be sure of your statements. If you're making a statement, show conviction. Anybody know what uptalk is? Do you know what uptalk is? Valley Girl talk, they used to call it after the 1980s movies, the Valley Girl type movies. It's when we make a statement and it sounds like a question. No matter what we say, sounds like this. I have a 71-year-old business associate who spent 25 years in a tube 400 meters under the surface of the ocean in a submarine. Extremely intelligent, very helpful in the business he has. And every time he talks, he sounds like a 16-year-old girl from the valley in California, because everything is, are we going to do this? As opposed to, this is what we're doing next. If you're going to speak with conviction, and you have conviction about what you're saying, your product, your service, yourself, your team, and the like, mean it. Say it and mean it. It just can't be sounding like, I'm not really sure this is what it is. You can always get back to someone by saying with conviction, I'll get back to you on that. We're not expected to know everything. But you really want to, what you are going to say it like you mean it. And again, most of us think, oh, I can just talk. I've been talking since I was 16 months old. Well, you've been running since you were 16 months old too, or 18 months or 2 years old for running, whatever it might be. We didn't make the Olympics. Same thing with our voice. Just because we've had it for so long doesn't mean we know how to use it. So think about inflection. Where are you going up? Where are you going down? Excitement is up like a hockey stick. You're moving here and it goes. Question is more gradual. Statement is either same or down? What are you doing with your voice? Because when people say, oh, he's monotone, it's not just he's talking like this without any inflection whatsoever. It's inflection and it's pace. How are you going to change your pace? Are you going to pause? Pause, pause, pause. Greatest thing you'll ever say is nothing. When you want to emphasize a statement, do what you do with your best friend. When you tell your best friend something that's important, you pause before you tell them. It's like tuning. I've got something important to tell you. You let them get ready, lean in, get set to listen to it, and then you say it. And what do you do after you say it? Pause again so they can digest it. Pausing is extremely effective. Emphasis, letting people digest what you said. Think about this. You know what you're going to say. You know how it pertains to what you want to accomplish. Your listeners don't. So when you tell them, they need to internalize it, digest it, and process it. And we have to give people time to do that. So learn to pause. And the other time, there's many times you want to learn to pause, but another time you want to learn to pause is get rid of your fillers. I was on a call the other night and someone was presenting, a professional was presenting. 40 minutes, I stopped counting, because that's what I do. I stopped counting the ums at 160. They went far beyond that, but problem was they didn't pause. So instead of saying you know, right, so, all those things, just pause. Unfortunately, our mind doesn't like quiet. So we fill it with or whatever it might be. Just pause. It's the equivalent to a human's brain when we say repeatedly of scratching your nails down a chalkboard. Because we just told them something we want them to process, and when they went to process it, we went, which interrupts that. By the way, in my latest podcast, I talked about pauses. And at one point I talked about, it's like tearing your fingernails down a chalkboard. And I don't know what possessed me, but before I put it out, I actually put 4.5 seconds of right after that. I have had more responses to that podcast than any other podcast I've ever done. But most of them are like, are you kidding me? I was going down Route 80 at 75 miles an hour and I hear I almost drove off the road. So probably not the smartest thing I ever did, but that's what it does to you. Learn to pause, learn to use it as a tool, and it'll make a great deal of difference. The question any public speaking coach gets asked more often than any other is, what do I do with my hands? Here's the, right, what do I do? Here's the easy answer. What you normally do. Use them as you normally would. Now, they can't be flailing like this. That gets a little monotonous as well as some other things can, but use them as you normally would. We read hands. Our brains are geared to read hands. Here's why. Let's go back 800,000 years ago. If I were walking across the compound and I see Peggy coming towards me, what do I have to look at? It's not her eyes. It's her right hand. Because 800,000 years ago, if I get injured, my life's over. So I have to be aware of her right hand. Why right hand? Because most people in the world are right-handed. And I need to know if she's extending her hand to greet me, or if she has a knife, a club, a rock, a spear to hurt me. So we are conditioned to look at people's right hands. And people go, no, I look at their eyes. Yep, you glance at their eyes. And study after study and video after video has been shown, we glance at another person's eyes when we're going to meet them, And then we look at their right hand. And once we look at their right hand to see if they're even going to shake it, we have to continue to look at it to make sure we shake it the way we want to, as opposed to missing their hand, half getting their hand, whatever. Hands matter. So use your hands as you normally would. You can get more expressive with them. You can say large, small, up, down, but we just talk with our hands. I will bet you, and I'll know by the smiles I see on the screen, I will bet you when you're talking on the phone and the other person can't even see you, your hands are moving. Because our hands help us talk. They actually do. In our brains, our hands help us talk. And the great thing is the person on the other end can tell if you're using your hands or not. Not consciously, but you can tell. It's just like when you see on a phone in an office building at the receptionist's phone, it says smile to remind them to smile, because you can hear a smile on the other end of the phone. You can tell when someone's talking with their hands and being expressive, or when their hands are in their pockets or on the desk or whatever, and their voice changes and they become more monotone and they more plod along as opposed to changing pace. Use your hands. And think of this. Ever been at a red light behind a car and you know exactly the type of conversation that's going on in that car by their hands? If the hands are like this, there's an argument going on, not a happy place. If they're like this, they're having a nice ongoing discussion. Hands matter. Problem with Zoom is we want to be in a bus shot, upper chest up. You have to learn, if you want, to bring your hands up further than you might normally, up closer to your face. Not a lot, but when you can. And if you take nothing else away from hands but this, in person, it's tough to do on Zoom, but in person, show your palms. Not up here. It'd be down closer to your waist, and you just, if your hands are like this, you just turn your wrist a little bit and it shows them your palms. The reason you want to do that is through all cultures, we communicate with our palms open. Think of the sayings we have about the back of our hands: backhanded slap, backhanded compliment. We do not like or appreciate the back of a hand. But we do appreciate a palm, because if I were going to give you a gift, I would give it to you with my palm showing. If I were to beg you for food or water or anything to sustain my life, I would come to you begging you with my hands and palms open. Palms matter. When you can show people your palms, do it. And not in like, here's my palms. Just rotating your wrist a little and let them see your palms. Study after study after study shows how effective that is. Hands matter. We read people's hands. Next subject, let me just note here. Let's move on to storytelling. So that's establishing confidence. Now let's move on to storytelling. A lot of people say, this is the information age. We want to tell fact, nuts, bolts. That's what we want people to know. And that's what we often do. But use a story. Stories make a difference. Who here can tell me the 3 little pigs? Who doesn't have a 3-year-old at home? Any of you out there closer to my age who can say, tell me the 3 little pigs, or Hansel and Gretel, or Little Red Riding Hood, or any of those that we heard years and years and years, decades ago? Why? Stories stay with us. Stories are sticky. Facts are not. Stories are emotional. Facts and figures are not. What we want to do is find a way to illustrate what we want to say with a story. There are people, if you think about it, you've watched on stage years ago or in a presentation in business who told a story that you probably can't repeat it, just like the 3 little pigs. You probably won't nail the story, but you know the concept. You know what it was about. You know the problem. You know the result. Stories matter. Now, many of us say, I can't tell a story. I had someone not too long ago. She and I were talking, we were talking about storytelling. She goes, Peter, I am the worst storyteller. I said, I get it. You know, not everybody's great at it. I get it. And we kept talking, and a little while later, I said, by the way, what'd you do over the weekend? Oh, she said, it was such a wonderful weekend. My husband and I, and she went on, and this is what we did, and this is what we didn't think we'd be able to do because of the weather, and it turned out great, and it was absolutely fantastic. You know what that is? Story. Every time you go home to your significant other, what happened today? Oh, let me tell you about this client, good, bad, or indifferent. Story. You read a book? Story. Watch a TV show? Story. Movie? Story. We're surrounded by stories because the human brain reacts to stories. Think of documentaries. Those used to be cut and dry. You go back even 10 years ago, they're cut and dry, and a lot of people are like, oh, I can't watch them, they're boring as can be. Look at them now. They have stories. Look at any major event, Super Bowl, Final Four in basketball. What captivates people are the backstories. They tell you about this guy and how he's overcome this, or this woman has overcome that to come back and play in her senior year. It's all the stories that engross us, whether we realize it or not. And that's why they fill those now with stories. So how do you tell a story that matters? Everybody can tell a story, but there's a difference to a good story. And these are the things you want to do to make sure your story is well told. First of all, who am I talking to? Any part of your presentation, who am I talking to? It matters who's listening to you because your presentation style, as well as specifics, will change even though the overall objective may be the same. Who am I talking to? What's the moral of the story? There's got to be a moral. It's got to mean something. Difference between a story and an anecdote is an anecdote doesn't have a moral to it. It's just a cute little story, if you will, but it's not a true story. You should actually be able to think of this is the moral of the story, and this is how it meets my objective with these particular people. So who are they? What's the moral? And then we get into main character or main characters. Who are they? What are they up against? They had to be up against something. And this involves pitching because you're solving a problem. Your product is solving a problem. So when you talk about a story in a pitch, what problem are you solving? What problem did that character or characters face? No problem, no story. Think of any movie. There was a problem. Dorothy had to find a way home. Luke, who didn't know how to do anything other than kill rats, had to figure a way to beat the Empire. There's always a problem to make a story. And if you don't have a problem for your product, your solution, forget of it as a product or a service. You have a solution. No story with the problem, you have no solution. People won't listen to it, or at least won't regard it as highly as you want them to. After you have the person and the problem, or people and the problem they're facing, at that point, what action steps were taken or need to be taken to solve it? And how are you providing those action steps? How did you provide those action steps? And then what was the result? You have to have a result, and a compelling result. Think of movies you've seen, books you've read. There are some that have great endings, compelling endings. And then there's those that ended. You walked away going, really? Leaving the cinema thinking, my God, it's just like they figured, we're close enough to being done. Let's just call it a day. Wasn't thought out well, whatever. That's what you need to do with your story. Story is an elegant way of taking what's in your mind and put it in someone else's mind in a way they'll remember it, in a way they can go along on that journey with you, just like a good book, good movie, anything that brings you along on that journey. So there's no real trick to it. It doesn't make a difference if it's me, you, Martin Scorsese. A story is a story is a story. Script writers will argue with that because of all the things they do. But even then, you can lay one movie over another, and most good movies will follow the same track. Here's something I give to all my clients. Two things I tell every single client. If you take nothing else away, remember this. It's never about you as the speaker. Never. You can come up with any argument with me. I'll argue with you all day long. It's never about the speaker. It's always about the audience. You're not here to listen to me. No one said, oh my God, it's Peter George. I got to go listen to him. My mother died 14 years ago. When she died, that whole thought went with her. She was the only person on this earth, including my wife, by the way, who's my best friend, including my wife, who would say, oh my God, Peter's speaking, I have to see this. She died, that was over. It's not about me. It's what you guys get out of this. It's about you. When you tell a story, don't make you the hero. Make you the mentor. The mentor is the one with the knowledge. The mentor is the one who helps the hero succeed. Name the book, name the movie. Let's go back to Star Wars. If you've seen the original Star Wars, the very first one, A New Hope, what was it? You took a kid who was wet behind the ears, if you will, didn't know what to do, and he ended up going to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then after Obi-Wan Kenobi in the next one, he went to the guy, Yoda, little 3-foot Yoda. Yoda had the most knowledge. Yoda had 900 years of experience. He had the greatest power of the Force. He wasn't the hero of the movie. Whether you go back to Johnny Depp's Lone Ranger or the Lone Ranger that was on television in the 60s or the radio in the 30s, the Lone Ranger didn't have all the knowledge. Tonto did. Tonto knew how to track horses. Tonto knew which water was good to drink and which wasn't. Tonto had all the knowledge. The mentor makes the hero look good. No one's coming to any of us for us to be the hero. They're coming to us for us to be the mentor. So when you're telling your story, don't make you the hero. Make the person who had the problem and overcame that problem. You mentored them, you helped them along the way. They have to be the hero. Even when you're pitching. They're always, we want to go, my product's the hero, I'm the hero, it's awesome. Make them the hero. Your listeners will appreciate it. They'll understand it, and you're not grandstanding. There's only one hero in your story. That's them. That's really what you want to do with storytelling. Get away from the facts. You can fold them in, blend them in to the mix. Get away from the facts, figures, nuts, bolts. You can't digest nuts and bolts, but you can digest a good story. And in the format that this is in pitching, you have a short time, it's going to be a short story because there are other things to add to it, but make your story compelling and have a moral. Again, you should be able to say at the end, and I train a lot of my clients who are speaking in front of others, whether it's in business or up on stage or even in court. The moral of the story is to literally say it, because sometimes I might think the point of the story is different than what it actually is. I might have missed something. I might have missed it altogether. Tell us what the moral of the story is. If you think back to the shows of years ago, they would actually say that. The moral of the story is, and tell us. Okay, so now that's how you establish confidence. That's how you tell a story. We can get deeper into it, but if you just take those, you'll do extremely well. Now let's talk about being prepared, because if you're not prepared, nothing else matters. To be prepared, first thing you want to do, who am I talking to? I know they're judges, I know they're VCs, whatever it might be, an audience, but those people who matter, the judges, the VCs, whomever, They're people. And today we have something that we didn't have years ago. We have Hoover.com, we have LinkedIn, we have different things we can look up to learn more about those particular people. And that helps us not only prepare, but it helps us feel more comfortable with them. Do as much research you can do on your judges and listeners and VCs when you speak in front of them as you do on just about anything else, because that's part of the foundation of preparation. Who am I talking to? There's an old adage of, if you don't know who you're talking to, it's like writing a love letter saying to whom it may concern. What are the odds it's going to resonate with them? Know who you're talking to. And besides, it's legalized stalking when you're looking up all their stuff. Know who it is. Once you do that and you start to formulate your presentation, your pitch, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And when you think you've done enough rehearsing, what should you do? Rehearse, rehearse. And people tell you, I don't do that. You're going to over-rehearse. Would you want to go see a Broadway play where they didn't rehearse enough? Some people say, I'm best when I wing it. No, you're more comfortable when you wing it because you don't want to prepare and do everything you need to do. You're not more effective, much less effective. Prepare till you can present, not memorize, but present your pitch, your presentation, as well as you can sing your favorite song. Learn it bit by bit, piece by piece, section by section, so well that if someone said to you while you're emptying the dishwasher, hey, what's the middle part of your presentation? You should be able to do it like that. Verbatim? No, you don't want to do it verbatim. You don't want to say it the same way every time. But learn it that well. Don't wing it. Some people say, oh, I've read it and I've read it and I've read it. The problem is the human brain does not equate reading to remembering a concept. Otherwise, we all would have gotten through colleges with 4 O's. Read the book once, read the passage, chapter once, we'd all be set. Just doesn't work that way. Read it out loud and then practice it. And here's how I want you to practice it. Prop your phone up. Greatest tool ever invented for speaking. The present day phone. Prop it up, hit record, do your presentation. After you're done presenting, take your phone, play it back upside down so you can't see it, and listen to it. How did you sound? Did you have fillers? Did you pause enough? Were you just rambling on? Listen to how you sound, because that's what other people are going to hear. That'll tell you if you need to practice on your voice, your vocal presentation more. Then play it back with the sound off and watch it. And that will tell you about your body language. Did you do anything continuously distracting? That makes a difference. Watch for that. And then play it back as you normally would. And then after you've made notes of what you want to work on, change, adjust, whatever, start all over again. But you don't want to do it for the first time or second time or third time in front of a live audience, at least one that matters, the people you're pitching to. Because that's like paying $400 for a Broadway play and the actor's coming out and doing it for the first time without rehearsing in front of you then. Why would you pay top dollar to watch them have their first rehearsal? They wouldn't do that. They're professionals. Same thing here. Beth wouldn't want her students coming to her, giving her a rough draft as a final presentation, written or otherwise. I have a feeling that she wouldn't mock them all that highly. Can't be a first draft. It has to be prepared, combed through, culled out, make it what it needs to be before you present it to someone. By the way, the Japanese have a word. When people say, nope, I know my business and I have the guts to get up in front of people and talk. The Japanese have a word for that. Does anybody here? If you know what the word is, unmute yourself and tell me the word. Anybody know the Japanese word for that? Knowing what you want to say and having the guts to get up and say it? It's called karaoke. And how good is karaoke? Unless your audience has had 3 shots and a beer, you probably suck. Unless you've had 3 shots and a beer, you're probably not going to do that well. So don't just get up and have the guts to do it and know what you want to say. That's not communication. That's showing up and throwing up. You want to communicate with people. That takes practice. That takes rehearsal. Don't memorize it verbatim, especially if you're like me and have I have a lot of gray hair on my head. As we get older, especially, but even when you're younger, if you go to memorize and you forget a word, your brain will stop you like that because your brain has been trained to find that word. Now, it might only take 3 seconds. It'll seem like a minute and a half to you. It might only take a few seconds to find the word or decide you have to move on. But if your brain doesn't find that word, it's kind of like a roulette wheel going around and the ball's just not dropping. And it's looking and it's looking and it's looking for that word. So don't memorize it verbatim. Just know what you want to say. If there's a term, a fact, a figure that you need to put out there, a stat, memorize that. But other than that, it's fluid. Like a conversation. It's a conversation, remember? A conversation with other people. Simple as that. You do those things, and will you be home free? No. There's still everything else you have to do in a pitch that matter. Knowing your product, knowing its history, knowing your team, knowing why you, all those things that come into play. In a short pitch, not everything comes into play, but the most important ones have to. Find a way to come up, do it with confidence. By the way, when you rehearse, you're more likely to have confidence. Oh, before I end this, I just want to talk about this for 1 second. Why do we get nervous? Let's go back to the confidence thing. Why do we get nervous? Does anybody know? We all do, by the way. We go, oh, look at her. She's just nailing it. She's a natural born speaker. Nope, probably not. They're just as nervous as you are. I prescribe to Mark Twain's theory of there are 2 types of speakers in the world. Those who are nervous and those who are liars. Everybody's nervous. We're all nervous before we speak, if it matters, and especially if it matters to us. Anybody ever hear of this guy, Tony Robbins? Tony Robbins takes a 5-foot foldable trampoline with him wherever he goes to speak. Now, here's a guy that gets paid up to $250,000, or just shy of that, $240,000 for a 40-minute presentation. Does it many times a year. He doesn't get nervous. Yes, he does. So he takes this 5-foot foldable trampoline and he jumps up and down for about 20 minutes before he goes out on stage to take his nervous energy and make it positive energy. You need to find the same way to do that. Diaphragmatic breathing, great way to do it. Meditating, great way to do it. But we all go through it. Don't think, why is this happening to me? Your heart will race, your hands will get sweaty, you'll forget what you're going to say, and I'll explain why real quickly. Going back 800,000 years ago when this all developed and our brains were trying to keep us alive, the primal brain, the reptilian brain, that's its job. It cannot communicate, by the way. If you ever said, I'm lost for words, I'm so emotional, because you are. It has to go through the frontal cortex, which has the language capabilities. That said, the primal brain that first developed says, if you have a bunch of eyes looking at you, it's a problem. Your life is in danger. Get out. Either fight all these people or run, fight or flight. So it starts sending through your adrenal glands, it starts sending adrenaline through your body. And that's why your heart races, because if you're going to fight or run, your heart has to be prepped and send energy and blood to your extremities. Your blood pressure goes up, so it gets more of it there quicker. You sweat because your body needs to be lubricated if you're going to fight or run. You become keenly aware. That's why you see people with longer hair when they're speaking do this constantly, because they're keenly aware of that one strand of hair that no one can see, by the way, touching their ear. So they're constantly doing this till they get it. And Amy's laughing. So Amy, have you done this, or have you seen people do this? right? When people speak, watch them touch their nose. Most people, if they're not comfortable with speaking, once they start speaking, will start touching their nose. Because the blood vessels expand in our nose when we get nervous, because it wants to know what's around us, our senses elevate, and we become aware that that's happening to our nose, so we touch it constantly if we're nervous when we're speaking. All these things happen to everybody because that's what our brain was taught to do to keep us alive. And not only does your brain go up and you feel these little things, the reason it goes up is if you were going to fight or run, if you're going to fight a bunch of people, even one person, you have to be aware of what's happening. Where are they? What are they doing at this moment? So you can react. If you're going to run, you don't want to run down a dead-end street because that's not good if you're being chased. So your brain becomes very aware of your surroundings. That's why people get more and more nervous. They realize more eyes are looking at them, except one part of your brain. The part of your brain that actually decreases is memory. Because if you're going to fight or run, what do you need memory for? So that's why when you're sitting down and it's about your turn to speak, you go, I know what I'm going to say. I know what I'm going to say. I know what I'm going to say. And they call on you and you stand up and your legs are straight and you're looking at everybody and you go, I have no idea what I was going to say. And then you sit down and your butt hits that seat and you go, that's what I wanted to say, because your memory just came back. As soon as you're out of that danger, your memory comes back. So that's why we get nervous. So understand it's happening to everybody. It's just learning to manage it. Cleansing breaths, relaxing, meditation, all those things. Not alcohol, by the way. That makes it worse. Not alcohol. Nor sugar, nor caffeine. If you're going to pitch, don't have caffeine that day. Drink all the coffee you want afterwards, all the soda you want afterwards, because that makes your brain more hyper than you want it to be, makes your body the same way. So all those things, be calm, be confident, tell stories, and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse. It matters. You want to do it as if your life depends on it. Now, your health life doesn't necessarily depend on it, but your product's life does. The people who would utilize your products, how they would use it in their lives matter. And how you would feel about your life, success or otherwise, matters. If you can get those three things done, all the other things that happen in pitching or presenting in general fall into place. But those are the rock solid foundations. And at this point, what question do you have?
So Peter, what if you are in the middle of your speech or pitch and you're doing well, but then all of a sudden, I don't know, someone's looking at their phone or someone is not engaged. I'm not just talking about my students, that it throws you off. How do you kind of circle back? You know what I'm saying?
Ignore it. I'd love to think there was something more eloquent than that. There's not. You have to just ignore it. It happens all the time. My wife is not the speaker in the family. Some people tell you, neither am I. But I've spoken in 6 countries, more than 60, I guess more than 70,000 people now. And my wife was asked to speak at an event I was going to, and they knew she was coming along, and everybody loves her and tolerates me. And they asked her to speak. And she was quite nervous. And I said, the one thing that will absolutely disrupt you is if someone's not paying attention, they're on their phone, or since you're speaking first thing Sunday morning, and this is to an older crowd who's going to try to act during the conference like they're 18 years old again, if they fall asleep, just ignore it. The tendency is to constantly look at them if they're sleeping or whatever. Don't do it. And you have to know my wife. She's intelligent, sweet, but she grew up on the streets of Central Falls. So very few things, and I mean on the streets of Central Falls, very few things bother her. Sure enough, a guy in the second row fell asleep and he was right on the aisle. And I'm in the back watching her and I'm very proud. She's just nailing us. For someone who's never presented before, she's nailing it. And she walks down off the stage, down the steps, across in front of the stage, got in front of the gentleman and went, "Wake up!" He did. He walked back up the stage and just continued like that, like nothing ever happened. Afterwards, he thanked her. He said, I would have missed your presentation and been upset if I had. Just ignore it. There's nothing you can do. It's, you know, watch people in the audience, watch the people you're presenting to, pitching to, see what they're doing. If their arms across, everybody goes, oh, that's because they're building a defense against you. Could be they're cold. Check the room. If I see a couple of people with their arms crossed, okay. If everybody or a lot of people have their arms crossed, the first thing I want to do is check the room. Is it cool in here? Because if it's cool, people cross their arms. If 2/3 of my audience have their arms crossed and it's warm, I goofed it. You just try to instantly figure out where that was and correct it. Other questions?
Yeah, we have a question from someone who doesn't have audio or video, but apparently he can hear us. So welcome, David. Ask, what does a presenter do when someone in the audience becomes belligerent to your idea? Oh, that's a good question, David.
First of all, always be prepared. Be prepared that that is going to happen, because if you speak enough, eventually it will. And what we often try to do is ignore it, because we don't want to hurt their feelings or embarrass them or anything else, but we're doing that at the peril of everybody else who's trying to listen to us. And we're doing it to the peril of our presentation being effective. Not good, but effective. You just have to call them out on it. Just say, if there's something you want to discuss, please let's do it afterwards. I'll spend all the time you want with you. If they keep doing it after that, you just got to tell them to be quiet because they're disturbing everybody else. If they keep doing after that, then you ask someone to get someone to help with the situation. And if you speak enough, all three of those things will happen. You always be prepared of, what do I do when this happens? Don't wait till it happens to go, oh my God, what do I do now? And don't coddle them. They're doing what they're doing. They have to get the reaction they need.
I think about a similar situation that I'm sure many of us have faced, where it's not necessarily belligerence, but it's maybe someone questioning or downplaying the validity of one's business or pitch, or, you know, and in the process of giving a pitch, adrenaline might be rushing, and it could be easy to maybe get frustrated hearing that criticism.
Here's a good response for that. I was taught this many years ago, and it has come in very handy. Whether it's speaking or otherwise, if someone questions me, my expertise, my capabilities or anything, I just look at them and say, you know, you might be right. Why argue with them?
Yeah, but right. In the case of a pitch, like I'm thinking about Shark Tank, you know, those sharks can get tough and really question people. So I think that's what you're bringing up, Avi, and I'm not sure if that's what David means, but sometimes sharks can get a little tough. What is your advice for that when you're, as Avi just pointed out, your adrenaline's rushing, you know, you're nervous, and you're getting questioned about the validity of maybe your business, your idea?
First thing to do, take a deep breath, because the last thing you want to do is let your adrenaline keep flowing as it's going to be when you're challenged. It's already going a mile a minute. You don't want it to go any faster. So in any type situation, when your adrenaline's rushing, you want to calm down. Whether it's a situation like this or an emergency, your house is on fire. First thing you want to do is calm down. At that point, what I would say in that case, and I've often wondered that because I watch Shark Tank quite often, and I often think that what I would say is, I probably just, if you're thinking that I described it incorrectly, let me describe it again.
We should do a reverse engineered program where we do like a Shark Tank episode and you like pause it and deconstruct it.
We could do that.
We have a couple questions actually.
Sure.
Wait a minute, where did Lisa go? Do you usually stand when you speak virtually? And I know you spoke about that before. Do you want to reiterate what you said about that?
Yep, always stand. Your body reacts, not that you can't use gestures, not that you can't use your body for inflection and the like. Your breathing when you're sitting, But your body is not made to do those things while sitting. Your stomach doesn't expand the same way when you use diaphragmatic breathing because of belts or just the fold of your body. It's restricting. Stand. I'll give you an example. I was brought in for a company out of Philadelphia. They're a financial company that doesn't work with consumers like us. They only work with municipalities. And their sales weren't what they were supposed to be. And I don't teach sales technique, but I do teach sales presentation. So I don't go for the words and all, but how to present yourself during it. And I said, for me to get, when I was down there, for me to get the idea of what you're doing and what's happening, please put on a demonstration of a presentation. So they had their top 4 people in a conference room, sitting at the table, and I was there, and there's a screen up there so they can do their television screen, so they can do their PowerPoint presentation. And the lead person started speaking and spoke for about 3 minutes. I said, no, okay, it's probably me. Let me try this again. Do it exactly like you would do it if I were the municipality you were presenting to. And he said, I am. You're sitting at the table? He said, yeah. I said, how about when you pass it? Because they passed the presentation to all 4 people. Oh no, we all sit at the table. Well, we changed that. And they felt more comfortable with it too. When we present, when things matter, to show authority, to show confidence, to have eyes on you, for our bodies to present, much of presentation is nonverbal. For our bodies to present, stand. Doesn't mean it can't be done seated, it's just not as effective.
There's another question here too that is relatable back to David's question in particular. Do you think that learning meditation would be effective to control your emotions? I have tried, but have not yet been very consistent because I am skeptical, it's been a long day, of my ability to meditate. And I would say to that, you know, breathing exercises from my meditation practices. So can you speak to that, Peter?
Yeah, when it comes to meditating, I am not the person to speak to. I can't do it. I just can't. I can't sit still or keep my mouth shut for more than 15 seconds. But everybody who can meditate says it does wonders. Visualizing success also helps. Think of athletes seeing themselves get the winning hit or sinking the winning basket, whatever it might be, finishing the crossing the finish line first. All those things, visualize yourself being successful, engaging your audience, the people you're speaking to, getting a round of applause afterwards, whatever it might be, feeling good about yourself. Visualizing, meditation, cleansing breaths, diaphragmatic breathing, all of that helps. And like I said, stay away from alcohol because you're trying to calm your body, and alcohol metabolizes into sugar, which does not calm your body. Stay away from chocolate, for any other type of sweets that day. Alcohol for 48 hours. Treats that day, sugar that day, caffeine that day, because you're trying to relax your body. Those things are doing just the opposite. And there are some people go, I don't want to be too relaxed. If you find a way you're too relaxed when you're presenting in front of others, you let me know how you did it. Because you can get as relaxed as you want. As the moment you get up on your feet, your adrenaline starts to flow. You just want to be able to manage it.
Anything else, Beth?
I don't have any other questions. I've learned a lot tonight, and I present all the time, but I've learned a lot. I hope everyone else has. Peter, this was, I mean, you covered a lot in a short period of time, but I think it was very impactful, which I think is what we all needed tonight. So this has been awesome. This has been recorded. We are going to be able to, we will send that out via email to everyone that wants it. We'll also eventually, once we launch the website, it will be on the website. Again, just keep in mind that our pitch contest is November 19th. Anyone is allowed to pitch. It does not mean you have to enter the competition either. It's a separate event that we run. Our website will be launching, or relaunching, I should say, on Friday, October 23rd. So once that's launched, you can see the application for the pitch contest. And Peter, I can't thank you enough for doing this evening. I think it
My
was
pleasure.
really well done, and I hope you all have a great, wonderful evening.
Can I offer everybody something before they leave?
Of course.
If you're going to pitch or do a presentation and you have any questions, contact me. I'm not going to send you an invoice in the mail. Just contact me and say, I have a question about this, or I understood what you said when you were saying it. And once I was off Zoom, it went with it. Just contact me. Here's my phone number, 401-742-1231. Call me, text me, that's my cell. Text me, go to Peter at Peter George, or email Peter at Peter George Public Speaking, fairly easy to remember, Peter at petergeorgepublicspeaking.com. Send a question. Just get in touch with me. Go to my website. You can even get on the menu there or the schedule there. Put your name in. We'll be together on that time and day. Ask your questions. I'll help you in any way I can to make this the best pitch and or presentation for you.
And reach out to either Beth or myself or anyone on our team, because we also, if you forget that, which it is pretty easy URL to remember, I have to say, but we're happy to connect you as well.
I'm very literal.
Well, last year before our pitch contest, Peter was kind enough to write an article about tips to pitch, and that is also on our website, so you can use that as well. And as I said, all this information will be on our website in just about a week too. So we will cover you in many ways.
And Beth, just to touch upon the pitch contest next month, it's 90-second pitching, right? And I think anyone can apply, and it's a very low barrier to entry, especially for this one. I think last year we had 60 people pitching.
80 plus.
80. So we'll go as long as we need to. I have one quick question for Peter, specifically about short pitches, about elevating pitches. Any advice of what to keep in, or what is necessary, what you think are the most important parts?
Much of it's going to do with the person. A lot of people, and if you watch Shark Tank, you see quite often, I'm not interested in your product, but I'm interested in you, or I will back your product because of you. And we always want to fill it up back with those facts and figures and everything else. It'll come down to you presenting. Nothing else matters unless you do. So make sure you're confident, make sure you're well prepared. And then when you come in and talk about 90 seconds is a quick time, talk about your team or the product and the traction you've gotten or what you expect to get. Then you can bring that in, but make sure everything is based on you. Because that's what we're still human beings. We don't buy products or services in this way in a presentation. We buy the person who's behind it. And that matters to us. So look at that and don't prepare for 90 seconds. Prepare for 80. Because when you stumble, when you're reading it or you're doing it, and you go, yep, in my living room, I am just fantastic at this. You might stumble, you might forget a word. You might even get a laugh or two that extends 3 seconds. Prepare for just a little less, 10% less, and then you know you're not going to go over, because a lot of people will penalize you mentally without even realizing it if you go over, because they see it as disrespectful.
Great, thank you.
And have a good time, have fun. What's the most that can go wrong? You're not going to have a heart attack. You're not going to have a stroke during it. You might trip and break a leg. But other than that, have fun.
Peter.
Really just
cancel that. Cancel that.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No, just have fun.
Peter, this is Peggy. You reminded me of one of the pitch presenters who did a backflip onto the stage. So he got everyone's attention.
I have no problem with something like that if it pertains to the presentation. Things are fine.
I have to tell you, I don't even remember the presentation. I do remember the backflip.
Yeah, which is sad though in the long run.
Right.
Because it's about things like that are fine if it's about the presentation.
Well, I think it worked. I think it worked for him at the time. But to your point, he demonstrated enthusiasm and energy, which I think were two things that you said were important.
They are.
And so it was effective in that way.
Yeah. And be proud of yourself, truthfully. If it goes well, if it doesn't go quite as well as you hope, be proud of yourself, because doing a pitch doing a presentation in general, you are about 1% of the population who can do it well. So pat yourself on the back afterwards.
I think we have to remind ourselves of that.
Right.
It's hard to do.
Yep.
So
There's a little
anyway,
bravado in it. It's like, I got the guts to come up here and do it.
I would make this observation. Even if you don't do a great job, even if you don't win a prize, every time you're given the opportunity to do a pitch, take it. Because every time you do it, it'll make the next time that much better. There, you don't get that many opportunities. And quite honestly, we have a pretty supportive audience because most of the people in the audience are either doing the same thing or friends of somebody who's doing the same thing. They're a pretty understanding audience. And you don't get that many opportunities. And it's a real opportunity to to have to stand up, do your thing, and you'll know when you sit down, you'll say, "Oh, I would have done this differently." But had you not had that opportunity, you wouldn't have learned that. So,
right. And to your point, no one wants a speaker to fail. No one, unless they're a jerk and go, they don't like the person, whatever. They want to see them embarrassed. No one wants a speaker to fail because either they appreciate you had the ability and the wherewithal to do it, and they can't see themselves doing it because of nerves or whatever. Or in self-defense, someone goes to Beth's class, no one says, "I hope this professor sucks. I hope I spend a semester here and am bored to tears every single week." No, you want them to be involving, engaging the audience, the students. We all want speakers to do well.
Yeah, that's true. I think even the competitors feel that way because they find out, they watch somebody and say, "Gee, I learned something just from the other presenters, just from watching what worked for other people." So,
good observation.
Yeah, it's an opportunity that no matter how timid one feels is one that people should take the opportunity for. They should grab it.
I agree wholeheartedly.
but don't you
Just to reiterate, because I think people lose this, and we've already said it, really important to know that competing in the pitch contest does not obligate you to, prepare an entire business plan and submit for the competition. It's a discrete event. So people, we see a lot of people come through, but it's not required. So it shouldn't intimidate people thinking, "Oh, I've got to commit to this larger event." In fact, we see some people who come for a pitch contest and then a year later they come back because they feel they're at the point that they can actually present a business plan.
Right.
Don't you think too, Peter, that, we're hard on ourselves? We'll get back and we'll say, "Oh, we should have said this, or we should have done this, or we should have had a hand gesture." And the audience doesn't even notice it. Because
I ask people, what did Martin Luther King forget in I Have a Dream? Anybody know? No one does. But I guarantee you, because he was a human being, he sat down and went, "Oh, I can't believe I forgot that." We all do. And we all tell ourselves, and it was the most important point I was going to make. No, it wasn't. It only is now because we forgot it. Everybody forgets to say something they wanted to say. It's just natural. So you're right. We get back there and go, "Oh, I didn't do this. I should have done this. I wanted to do that."
And
but you did what you did.
You did what you did. And if you're lucky, you always have a next time.
Yeah. And it's something most people in this world will never, ever do. And if you take introverts, me being one of them, I'm extremely introverted. We often make the better, I'm not patting myself on the back, but make the better presenters because we over prepare. As opposed to the gregarious person who goes, "I know," back to the karaoke. "I know what I'm talking about. I know what I want to say. I got the guts to do it." Well, they're not prepared. It doesn't come off as well. So if you're introverted, good for you. It's one of the times it's great to be introverted.
I love it. Well, again, if you have any other questions or want to reach out to Peter, he's given us his phone number, his email. We'll have it all on our website. And again, Peter, I thought this was terrific. I think everyone else did too. And so thank you so much. And I hope to see everyone at the pitch contest. If you're not pitching, at least to support the people who are. So thank you. I hope you all have a great night and stay safe.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Peter. Bye, Peggy.